yes, the famous Telstra Tower and the famous Aurion. We are back, folks. 10-year review. Here we are, 2016. It's a little bit of a belated 10 years actually, because this is actually a April build, I believe, or a May build. So, and it's July now, sort of mid-July. So life gets in the way, life gets busy. Speaking of which, there is, you've probably seen the hints already, but there is 2 mini unlock the sheds in there. Not in the car now, but I do have 2 babies, that's right. And I do have a Mrs. Unlock the Shed as well, as you're probably all aware. So yeah, that's why I've been sort of very quiet the last few years. I haven't really posted much. I've been working full time and looking after kids and helping my wife, and we've had some health issues, things like that. So what's actually happening with the old Aurion? We do have the new bar on. It does need a wash again. I did get that respray from that accident a few months ago as well. In terms of running costs over the last, I've only owned it for 7 years. I bought the car when it was almost 3 years old from a dealership in Wollongong. I paid only $25,000 for it, and this is back in 2019, just before COVID. So I got a really good deal. And it only had 60,000 Ks on the clock, still under factory warranty. So I got a really cracking deal. Did the LED swap for the Parker bulb there, but the rest of the lights come in LED anyway from factory, because this is the very last facelifted 2016 Aurion Presara. So the second last year of manufacturing in Australia here. This was made in Altona, Victoria. Sort of near Melbourne, down that direction. We are, of course, in, maybe I shouldn't tell you where we are actually. If you know whereabouts in Australia I am, drop a comment. Most people who are watching this are going to be Australian, I'm pretty sure, but I do have American viewers, and I do have the occasional viewer from Europe and the Middle East as well. So yeah, let me know where you think I am. And you'll probably guess it pretty quickly if you Google search it or just have a look. Anyway, very famous landmark. Yeah, so I'm going to try to do this in one take as much as possible. How much has it cost me to run with the fuel prices being around $2 a litre? It's about $1.80 at the moment, but during the bad part of the war a few months ago, I was paying over $2.30 a litre, and that's just normal 91. So well over $100 a tank, like 140, 150 a tank if I were to use the whole tank, but I've just been doing top up, so I don't run it down that low. I just top up a few times a week and call it even. So you're looking at about, at the moment with $1.80 fuel, you're looking at about maybe $8 or $9 a day if you're doing 30, 40 Ks to the city and back. Doesn't look like I'm in the city, but believe it or not, I am. Yeah, between $8, $10 a day. With the war, maybe $12, $13 a day if you're running it. 30, 40 Ks in and out, drop-offs, etc. like that. About $2,000 a year to insure, full comprehensive. So it is quite expensive, but not as expensive as the V8 Commodore I used to have over 10 years ago. That used to cost me about $2,500, $3,000 a year to insure, and that was worth a lot less than this was. This is still insured for about $21,000, I believe, which is pretty good, and it's just hit 152,000 on the clock. So yeah, even with that damage, I wasn't at fault anyway, but yeah, even being July now, they put up the prices about $10 a year as well. So now, this was optioned from the factory with a genuine Toyota tow bar. I have used it a few times to tow a couple of trailers, just like a couple of small trailers to the tip and things like that. No caravans or no boats or nothing crazy like that. Did take that big ugly bar off and put that rubber thing on there so it looks a little bit neater. Apart from that, the car's pretty much stock, and a couple of LED lights that I've swapped in the boot and in the front there. The car's completely stock 17-inch wheels. Do have Continentals on the back. I gotta say, they're probably better than the Bridgestone Torrenzas on the front. I mean, these are pretty close to what it would have had from factory. But yeah, I think the Continentals are better in the wet, guys. I do find this is just a little bit slippery. I'm on its third set of tyres now in 10 years. It did come with good front tyres and fairly average back tyres when I first picked it up from the dealership. So yeah, I've done about 3 sets of tyres, 1 set of brakes in that time that I'm aware of. I mean, I don't think in 60,000 Ks you'd go through a whole set of brakes from the original owner. Anyway, he leased the car as well. It was an older sort of, I believe it's an older sort of gentleman, and he worked for a finance company and he used it as a leased car, but it always was washed really well. It was always really clean. I will say, being a Wollongong sort of East Coast car, it did have a little bit of stone chips on the roof that are a tiny little bit, there's a little bit of a rust spot there. It's sort of always, it was never perfect. The paint was never perfect. So that's why I managed to get the price down from 30,000 to 25, because the paint was just never 100%. It did have this, you can't really see it because it's frozen. It always had this little, I don't know, acidy stain or blemish there in the paint. It always had that as well. Ignore the bird poo. Now it is still like minus, I think it was -5 last night. So it's still about -2 now, but I've got the heater blasting inside, so the ice is melting. So yeah, I do apologize. It's extremely muddy and wintry at the moment, so not the best quality. But things I don't like about the car that I wish they could have improved on. I'm going to start with the most obvious one on the outside, is this badge. I love this badge. I love the grille, but this badge serves almost no purpose. It is completely hollow inside, but with this is a top of the range Presara, but with the top of the range Camry variant, which we also got in Australia, the Atara SL it was called, and I almost bought one in the same color too, but the hybrid version. It has the adaptive cruise control and the pre-collision and all that stuff with the radar here. They could have easily carried this technology over and put the radar in there, because they, even if you look inside here, ignore that warning there, they even have the spot for the radar cruise control here. Now you have normal cruise control, of course, and then you have your lane warning and everything like that, and that's for the cruise control there. Yeah, cruise control off, on, in the lane and all that, but you don't have the adaptive cruise control even though you've got the spot for it, which I think is completely bizarre. It's just not scrolling down, and then you just have your fuel economy there. I just filled up with fuel, that's why it's giving me a really high number at the moment. This was saying on the way here about 9 litres per 100, now it's gone to 13 because I'm idling. But if you have a look at this, it's even got the spot here for your digital speed too. And again, they have the infrastructure here to do the digital speed, but there is no options on here whatsoever to do digital speed. And I don't understand. They had that, they literally had that in the Camry, not the digital speed, but they had the infrastructure for the pre-collision and the adaptive radar cruise control, but they didn't carry it over to their highest model Aurion. I just don't understand that. And of course the Camry dash slopes down a little bit more here, but this is more squared off, being the Aurion. And I love the square. I absolutely love the square look and the square physical buttons. There's a button for everything. There's a button for the blind there. Not many cars have that. You can see the blind there. Physical buttons for the sunroof and everything like that. So yeah, all in all, I'm very happy with the car. And people ask me all the time, hey Lockie, do you want to sell the car? It's 10 years old now. Absolutely not. I freaking love this car. It's been so reliable. I've taken both my daughters home from hospital in this car. Ignore that, it looks a bit crappy, but I've just got the blanket covering that. But really, guys, apart from people running into the car or hail damage, and I suspect, actually, speaking of that, when I bought the car all those years ago, I looked underneath the light because it was raining when I bought the car, so again, paint was never perfect, but when I did finally detail it myself and dry it out, it did have tiny little like dints in it, and I did notice that all the windows weren't tinted, so I suspect it has been in a hailstorm before my ownership once, and then it's obviously cracked the windows, and they've probably gone through insurance and fixed the windows up. And I also did notice as well that this was never perfectly lined up as well after I bought the car. But that being said though, it is a second-hand car when I bought it, so I can't expect it to be perfect. It was never a perfect car. However, it's perfect for me. I absolutely love the car, and I plan on keeping it a very long time. I would like to easily see it hit 200,000 Ks, or even 300,000 Ks, like I almost got my last one up to. So a few of you might remember that I have had one of these before, but I had a 2007 model in the light blue color. Same spec, it was a Presara 2. It also had a tow bar, it also had the sunroof obviously, except it had really dark tinted windows from factory. It had a really dark option with that. And I ended up having that for I bought it with 150,000 Ks on it in 2014 after I sold my Commodore, and had that for about 2.5 years. Put about 200 and almost 280,000 Ks on it, and sold it. I only sold it for 6.5 grand, and I bought it for 12. I should have kept it longer. It was still a good car, but some of the body trim and everything was falling off, and it had a much harder life. I was a younger person then. I was thrashing it a lot more. The person I bought it off was an Aussie guy, but he drove it pretty hard as well. So, and before he owned it, it was a hire car. So anyway, long story short, ended up selling that one on very cheaply, but it served me well, and owned a Corolla for a bit, but just wasn't quite happy with the manual Corolla. It was kind of boring and a bit too small. And of course, I started dating my wife at the time. This was 7 or 8 years ago now, and I needed a bigger car, and I wanted the power of the Aurion again. And these started getting cheaper and cheaper, these 50 series. And then I saw this one pop up on car sales, and I knew I just had to have it, and I just made it work. So I ended up selling the Corolla, bought this instead. Owned it for over 7.5 years now, but it's 10 years old, and I absolutely love the car. And it's so sad that this is the pretty much very last model. It's a My 17. It's a 2016 built, but it is a 2017 very last Australian built Toyota Aurion GSV50R. That is a stunning sunrise as well. Now I will mention, people ask me what fuel do I run. When I first bought the car for a year, I ran Premium 98. That's all I bought for a year. Did a whole bunch of tanks, got about 550, 600 to a tank. And then COVID went up. COVID came at around 2020. And then after that, fuel prices started to go up. So I switched from Premium to 91. And I even trialed E10 for a little bit and 95. And basically, it was always giving me around 10 litres per 100. And about, between 500 and 600 Ks out of a tank, or 550 Ks out of a tank if you say, before the light comes on, which I thought was really, really good. So all in all, guys, I'm going to say that you don't have to run premium. And on the flap and in the book and everything, it says 91 octane in Australia or New Zealand is perfectly fine. I do believe 91 octane in other parts of the world, like America and Canada, is different as well. So just check if you have a 2GR FE, and you're from a different part of the world. Actually, just let me know what fuel you use. But anyway, in Australia at least, I've been using 91, and it seems to be very happy on 91, so I never missed a beat. I do use injector cleaner a couple of times a year when I change the oil myself and things like that. Even though, yes, it doesn't really do much. I'll buy it off the shelf in a bundle deal from Super Cheap Auto for like $100 for that oil and a filter, and I'll just whack it in while I'm there, So yeah, that's how it is fuel economy wise. I mean, again, this is a crazy number. Just ignore this because I've been idling here for like half an hour. But yeah, this morning on the way after I filled up, and I've only done 17 Ks to the city, it was saying under 10 litres per 100. So yeah, all in all, you can use 91, no trouble at all. You don't have to run it on premium or 98. You can if you wish, and you might get a couple of more kilowatts. They are rated at around 200 kilowatts. I think it's on 91. You might be able to squeeze a couple of more kilowatts out of it, but all in all, the computer and everything, it's got knock sensors and everything in it, so if it detects low octane, it will pull timing and things like that. Another thing that I thought is always weird about modern Toyotas is, for example, when you put it into, so there's drive there, when you put it into sport mode, like plus and minus, it defaults fourth gear. You see that? However, we're not actually in fourth, we're in first, but whenever you click it into there, it just goes fourth. So drive there and fourth. However, we're not in fourth, we're in first. But basically, from what the book says as well, it's shift range select. So it lets you select up to that gear before hitting the rev limiter. So that you can't actually start it off in second or third or anything like that. So you can go all the way up to 6. It doesn't necessarily depict the gear that you're in. It just stands for maximum shift range. So that's what that means. So yeah, it is not like in a Falcon or Commodore. So if you're from other parts of the world, in General Motors or Ford Motor Company, you whack it into that, it would say performance mode, and it would stay in, if you clicked on it, it would stay in the actual gear that you're in first, and then, or you could start it off in second and things like this. This car, you can't do that. It will just give you the maximum value to, which is the point that you shift at. Yeah, so that's what that means there. So yeah, hopefully that answers some questions. I will say on that front as well, Toyota Australia really should have put the Kluger or Highlander all-wheel drive system in this car. It would have been absolutely mental. Yes, this is a front-wheel drive car, and it still goes great. It still handles pretty good for the most part. Does axle tramp heaps in the wet though. Even doesn't matter what tires, what tire pressures, the road surface, it always just wheel hops in the wet, and I don't like that. It's not very good for the car. It rattles everything apart. It just, well, not apart, but it just feels like it's rattling everything apart. So yeah, if they made the car all-wheel drive, I think that would have been amazing. Yes, it's very expensive to design, but I think they would have really had a like a really stinging sort of very fast handling, almost like a rally style spec car, you know, at its standard height. It would have that body roll, it would have that cushion to jump over, you know, heaps of bumps and things like that. And then you could have the Sportivo with the all-wheel drive as well and have that handling, almost like a WRX sort of style, but obviously a bit heavier. But all-wheel drive system would have been cool, or on-demand all-wheel drive system would have been cool for at least launching the car. But anyway, it's long gone now. I know there's people, a little bit off topic, but I know there's people with the Falcon, which is rear-wheel drive, who put the Ford Territory all-wheel drive system in that and make it all-wheel drive. So it'd be pretty cool to see if you could buy an old Kluger or Highlander, as they are in other parts of the world, strip the all-wheel drive system out and retrofit it, make a tunnel here, and do a custom like Aurion track pack or something like that, like a TRD supercharger all-wheel drive system. That would be amazing, but it would be very expensive, and you'd need probably 2 or 3 donor cars to make it happen. So anyway, that's just, if I won Lotto, I would buy an old Aurion and I would just strip it out and make it an all-wheel drive monster, supercharged monster. But yeah, anyway, a little bit of a missed opportunity from Toyota Australia there, but I know they just didn't have the budget for it. I'm just going to talk about the interior as well. It's pretty good for 10 years old. Like, I do leather white the seats and vacuum it almost weekly, although it's been a couple of weeks now, as you can see. It's been raining and stuff, but all in all, it actually cleans up pretty well. Like, if you vacuum it and then just go over it with leather wipes, it's actually really good. The only imperfections is, and this is the only thing in the interior that's ever really ripped, is just these 2 tiny little rips in the seat here. But apart from that, guys, it's been a really good interior. And obviously there's the rattles, which I talked about a few years ago from the people that fixed the hail damage, did a crappy job and left it a bit loose. But anyway, that was about 6 years ago now, so I can't really complain about that. And in terms of maintenance, I change the oil every 5,000 Ks. I used to do it every 10, but the last couple of years I started doing it every about 5,000 or 6 months, because I'm not doing a lot of Ks anyway, and sometimes I use it for a lot of stop-start trips, which is you know, bad for contamination of the oil. So I'd rather just change the oil and filter twice a year, regardless of Ks anyway. And she's still, the old 2GR FE-V6 is still holding up really well. Fans have just come on because I got the aircon on to keep it defogged, and I just came fanging up this hill a little bit. But yeah, she never overheats, never blows smoke, never uses any oil, doesn't leak any oil either. It's on its second battery ever in 10 years. I replaced that, I think the first or second winter I had the car, it died, so I just got a new battery. I got a heavy duty one. It's gone through about 3 air filters that I put in there. With its 150,000 K service, which I paid someone to do, reluctantly, they did change the coolant as well. They didn't do a very good job. I had to sort of top it up afterwards. And they didn't change a fuel filter because the fuel filter is in the back seat, like underneath the back seat. And I thought, with the kid seats in there, I thought, well, I can't even be bothered with that. So if it ain't broke, don't fix it. But yeah, apart from the small blemishes on the paint, no light bulbs have blown. It's only just been general servicing and maintenance and things like that. Nothing else mechanically has really gone wrong with it. Although I will say, I'm not sure if it's this side. Might be that side, or the other CV boot is just weeping a tiny little bit, like a tiny bit of grease is just starting to come out of it. So I think in the next probably 50,000 Ks, maybe by the time it hits 200,000 Ks, it will in fact need new CV boots, but I'll get them both done properly, do it properly, so I don't have to come back and do it again. I'll probably have to pay someone to do that again. I don't have the tools or the time to do that. But yeah, guys, this has been a really very reliable car. And there's probably going to be a little bit, you're probably noticing that the car's slightly cleaner now compared to what you've seen a few minutes ago. And that's because it is now Friday. I think I was here Monday, Tuesday, but I sort of ran out of time, and I just wanted to film a couple more little bits and take some more photos. So I came back again, and it's still very frosty, -5 or whatever. And it's just starting to warm up now, and the sun's coming up. So that's why it looks a bit funny. Also say, being the very last facelifted Presara, it does in fact have the traction control button. The very controversial button with Aurions is them not having traction control. That's the most common question in the forums. Oh, how do I turn traction control off? Normally you have to do a pedal trick, but however, with this model, this is the only model of Toyota Aurion that has traction control, that has a traction control button. So if you push it once, it will say track off. So that will allow traction to be off until you hit 40 kilometers an hour, then it will automatically turn back on. But if you hit that again and hold it in, it says track and stability off, or track off, but the stability control also goes off on the cluster there until you turn it back on, or until you restart the car. So that means the traction control stays off and the stability control stays off as well. So not that I do any burnouts or anything silly in it, but it is good, I guess, if you have a lot of snow. Not that we get much snow here anyway, but if you have a lot of snow or you have a lot of mud and it's just cutting power too much or whatever, at least you have the option to turn it off. So that's what that is. Not many people believe me when I say I have a button, so this is proof. The button is there. It is a factory, it is there from factory. This is the 2016-2017 facelifted model. So we talked about the LED front headlighting system, which comes from standard. This is another thing that is standard, and also another thing that they were sort of playing with in 2016-2017, just before the new generation of Camrys came out, was of course the hang on, where is it? The lane departure warning. So this it's not passive at all. It's telling me about my door, but you can see the icon there in the corner there. That's what that means. So it just beeps when you go over 50 kilometers an hour. It basically just beeps saying you've drifted out of your lane if you happen to drift out of your lane. It doesn't correct you, it doesn't brake or anything like that. It's just a visual warning on here, and an audible warning. That's all it is. So yeah, hopefully this clears up some a little bit of a myth. Yes, they do have that. Yes, they do have that. Oh, and pardon me, the gauges as well, exclusive to the facelifted 50 series, which this is. We get the nice gauges here, not the other sort of 3D ones. However, I did like the 3D gauges in the pre-facelifted model. I think it was cool how you had your own fuel economy gauge that would change all the time, and then you had the little bars on the side of that would go up and down. That was also cool. And you also had the I'll just close this so it doesn't give me warnings. You also had the bars like this does. This has the little bars there, and when you fill up those bars, when you get really good fuel economy, down the bottom of your trip it says excellent work or something like that. So it gives you a little reward system. If you fill up the bars, it gives you little comments, which is cute. It also has this funny looking tornado thing, which is your average fuel economy in blue, and then when you start driving you'll see a green line appear there, which is your instantaneous fuel economy. I'm averaging 11.1 on the overall scale, and then my short trip 16.5, because obviously I've just come up the hill and I've just grabbed the coffee down the road, so the engine hasn't been running for all that long, and when it was, I was fanging it up the hill, so that's why I've got the terrible fuel economy again. But yeah, I can get about 550, 600 from a tank, as mentioned before, and that's where the temperature normally sits too, and never gets over that, doesn't matter how hard you push it. So yeah, that's where we're at the moment. How's the screen holding up? The screen is holding up really well. It is a little bit laggy and slow at times. Obviously I've disconnected my phone because I'm videoing on it, and I don't want you guys, as much as I love you guys, I don't want you guys looking at my addresses and phone numbers and things like that. So it still does have the, you can see it's a little bit slow. It is actually very slow. It doesn't like the cold mornings. There we go. You have the eco calendar. It used to be able to do weather through Toyota Link. However, the automated subscription sort of stopped at around end of 2021, 2022. It was free, it never cost anything, but they stopped providing updates for that. So that unfortunately no longer works anymore with the Toyota Link on my app. That also doesn't work anymore. I did get a warning about that. However, all your normal navigation and your Bluetooth and everything like that still works just fine. See your fuel economy there. You can see the pass record. Now you see that the when that finally loads, the dates will be completely wrong. For some reason it's got really weird dates on there. I don't know what it means by that. 06 is definitely not 06, so I'm not really sure what all that means. But yeah, so that's what all that means, guys. Things I don't like about the model, again, it does have this clock here, but the previous model had a speed alert here. This does not have the speed alert. We have mentioned the one flap on the back of the seat. That seat does also not have a flap, which is a bit strange how you got one on the left side but none on the right side as well. So, however, everything else works fine. Cigarette lighter works fine for the dash camera. Yeah, nothing else to report except for a couple of squeaks and rattles from the dodgy sunroof, repair that was done from the hail damage. But yeah, apart from that, it's been good. Let me know what you want to see, guys. Did you want to see more 0 to 100s? Do you want to see me take it on a track one time? I would love to do a drag strip or a track. I would love to do like a hill climb or something with it. That would be awesome, or a track day or something like that. Who knows, maybe one day. We do also have a Mazda CX-5 in the family too, which I bought for my wife a couple of years ago. So I need to do a video on that too. But actually, a quick backstory on this. This opened in 1978, and it was it's for Telstra. They do broadcast things from it, and Telstra does own it, so it's not government owned like what people think. However, it's been abandoned since about 2020, I believe. Since COVID, they used to have a nice restaurant up there, which I've been in. They've got a viewing platform there, which you can stand up on top. However, it's all completely abandoned and shut down now. And now they're talking to vendors about making it into like a nightclub and a cafe restaurant again. So that would be nice, because when I first moved to Canberra back in '98, I used to come up here. My dad used to come up here in his Commodore. We'd hop out, go have lunch up there and look at the nice views of where I am. And yeah, so that's the backstory with it. It closed during COVID. It's a bit run down now. A few other like streamers and vloggers and influencers have done videos on it. So I'm not gonna, try to be one of those people. I don't really know a lot about it, but yeah, lots of fun memories up there with the family. And my wife and I, when we first started dating, we did one of our very first dates up there with the family too. So yeah, anyway, thanks for watching.